Somebody asked me recently, and you and I had the conversation before about Chris Greer, the GM, maybe being reassigned because of what he may or may not know about the pending Brian Flores litigation. He's been there for so long, it would just be somebody else in charge. Mike McDaniel is clearly the one who's most in trouble when it comes to being given the pink slip. But people think that Tua is going to be gone by next year. Well, if he's gone, he's going to have a hell of a bag of money that he's walking out the door with because his salary's fully guaranteed for next year.
Absolutely. These people, this organization twisted their arm to give an extension as opposed to making him play on his fifth-year option. It was really a move that they had to make in order to sort of keep the team and send the right message to the organization that we're headed in the right direction. But unfortunately, it wasn't ideal. And the reality is, Tua's contract in 2026 is fully guaranteed. I personally don't believe he's one of the top 5 issues on this team right now. Is he an elite quarterback? Absolutely not. But Tua can win games. He's, in my mind, a Matt Ryan-esque quarterback. He can get the job done. The question is, how well is the team built around him? And I would make the argument this is probably one of the worst rosters I've seen since maybe 2007 and 2019. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit. Your strengths are now your weaknesses, and areas that you absolutely had to address in the offseason, like the offensive line, are disasters. And yes, injuries factored into that, but you knew you did not have depth. And when you sit here and you draft 4 offensive linemen in the early rounds since 2016, and none of them except for Robert Hunt has really panned out, that's a you problem. That's not a Mike McDaniel problem. That's talent evaluation. And that, to me, is the main issue with the Miami Dolphins.
And, Omar, I rattled off the names earlier of the quarterbacks who thrived in their second or third, or in some cases, fourth acts. The Baker Mayfields, the Daniel Jones, the Sam Darnolds, Geno Smith, maybe eventually Cam Ward. I hadn't thought of this. You drop Tua with a competent supporting cast. You do the things Tua does well. Tua could be a guy who has a strong second act somewhere else, if and when it comes to that. And it feels more like when than if at this point. But, if he could be a competent quarterback with enough help around him, then, yeah, we could be talking about him as, once he got away from a bad situation, he turns into a good quarterback.
Absolutely. I think New Orleans is a great home for him in terms of they're a team in a dome. I think Tua is really would benefit from playing in a dome in an environment where the weather isn't a factor for at least half the season. Tua, I remember going to the owners meeting last year, and I was talking to a head coach, and he was just like, yeah, they don't want him, we'll take him. And, that coach went and addressed his quarterback situation in the offseason, but who knows what's going to happen. And so Tua, I don't think people have this thought process that Tua has no value. Tua is a very efficient quarterback. Name me efficient. He's right now, I think, second in all-time history for completion percentages behind Joe Burrow, passing all the greats. Yes, it's a different era of football. Yes, the offense is built for it, but you don't just do that by accident. He's had 3 straight years of 100 passer rating. You don't just do that by accident. The question is, can he finish games? Can he pull off fourth quarter victories? And against Carolina and against Chargers, he led the team to what should have been game-winning drives, but they couldn't hold it for 46 seconds.
Well, and when I kind of separate in my mind the best quarterbacks and then the next level where they're all kind of jumbled together, the best of the best quarterbacks are the ones who can make something happen when the play that's called isn't there.
Yes.
Who is not in that category?
He's not.
But there are plenty of other guys who are being highly compensated who are in that category. Kirk Cousins is in that category. Jared Goff, to a certain extent, is in that category. Sam Darnold's in that category, where once the walls close in on the play that's been specifically designed and selected for this situation doesn't work, what do we do? And there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, and the majority of the starters in the NFL are in that category of when the play that's called isn't there. It's just a question of how do we get the best possible bad outcome to this play?
Yeah. And here's the thing. efficiency is very important. Accuracy is very important. Yes, you're right. He's not durable. He's not really mobile. It's been hammered in his brain. Do not run. Do not run. Do not run. And I think Tua understands how valuable he is to his team. But the reality is, he hasn't been able to win clutch games, and that's going to continue to hold this franchise back. But let's compare him to the college quarterbacks right now. Most of them sucked last week, the guys that are being talked about for first round picks. So do you think an organization like the Jets or New Orleans or whoever's shopping for quarterbacks are going to say an established efficient quarterback that maybe I can pay for $30 million a year, or some other guy who is going to sell tickets, but we're not necessarily sure he's going to get us to our ultimate destination?
So unless things turn around, and this weekend really is key for the Dolphins, we do envision some significant changes. And I would assume a new coach is going to feel compelled to find his new quarterback.
Yeah,
And I
true.
hadn't thought of this before, but it's not as simple as keep Tua around and pay him, or just cut him and pay him to not play for you and hope you get some offset elsewhere, because you won't get much. You could trade him in
Yes,
theory.
you can. You can
Pay some of the
technically.
money. Other team pays some of the money. Get a little something back. Set
Did it
a
with
little
Ryan
softer
Tannehill.
landing spot for the Dolphins, but you may be putting him in a spot where he could end up being pretty good. You got to be willing to accept that you may hand Tua to a
Yeah.
team where one of the narratives next year heading into week 7 is going to be, damn, Tua's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Tannehill was the NFL's leading passer rated quarterback and took the Titans to 2 AFC championships after the Dolphins dumped him on the Tennessee Titans. So, history just continues to repeat itself around here. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens at all.
Well, that's a great point. I should add Ryan Tannehill to the list of quarterbacks who started off in a bad place and ended up in a better spot. But I think we're going to see that more and more. And I hope you're right. I hope we see incoming quarterbacks who recognize this isn't going to be good for me if I go to the team that earned the first
The
overall
number.
pick. So maybe I'm going to tell them no, and I'll deal with whatever heat that I take from the fans. And maybe one of these days the fans will understand how it works. Maybe they'll understand it's a business too, and they'll understand it's not a Harry Potter sorting hat. I can dream, I can hope, I can wish, Omar, but I've been doing this 25 years. Some fans are never going to see it the way that we do.
Absolutely. But they don't want to. It's selective naivety.
And I was the same way. I said this earlier. I got pissed when my dad told me that wrestling isn't real when I was a kid. I got pissed when people were trying to tell me that football's a
Yeah.
business. I don't want to think of it that way, but we have to think of it that way because it is.
Yes, it's a business and it's about the shield. And there's absolutely no excuse that we don't have turf fields when if you're so concerned about the tush push, the argument against it is player safety. But you absolutely know players hate playing on these turf fields. The MetLife field, which 2 teams play on, is notorious for getting players hurt, and you choose to do nothing.
All they care about is putting out the stats that support their position. I lived this a week and a half ago. I wrote a story about how we all know at this point that the players love grass, but the league will keep selectively. You find one stat, and this is the silver bullet to the argument. And I didn't mention the latest stat that they're pushing. So they send me, by the way, so your reporting is complete. Here are the statistics that the lower extremity injuries are. The players don't care about that. Anybody that's ever played a game on turf and played a game on grass and tried to roll out of bed the next day knows the difference, and nobody cares other than the players.
Absolutely. Players don't even like, in Miami, we have the indoor facility is turf. And while it's more climate situation, the players would rather practice on the field because it gives them more give back.
Yeah, it's simple, basic science. The forces go into the ground when you play on grass. When you play on turf, the forces that your body create go back up into your body, and you feel it. And even if you can find some statistic where you can say apples to apples, the injury rate's the same, it doesn't matter. Qualitatively, players know. They
The
know.
NFL
But it's
is
got to be
all
good
about the
grass.
analytics. Yeah, the
It's got to be
NFL is
good
all about
grass.
analytics now,
Yeah.
and they will find any analytic to strengthen their argument. Teams do the same thing, but that's one of the reasons Steve Ross, he was having an issue getting the quality grass that he wanted. So he was just like, damn it, I'm just gonna buy the company that sells the grass. Now I sell all the grass to everybody.
Omar, great stuff as always. Enjoy Cleveland this weekend. We'll see what the Dolphins do, and we'll be checking out your work at the Miami Herald website. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.